And he would say, Chassidische Meises, Zechreines. And on one occasion, he shared a story about Reb Nachum Chernobyl. Reb Nachum Chernobyl was one night sitting in Beis HaMedrash when in walked a fellow who represented that he is a shliach Melamayla to come teach Reb Nachum. And it was very tempting for Reb Nachum to hear. Apparently, this wasn't so foreign to him to encounter such visitors. But Reb Nachum stopped and he said, come back tomorrow. He said, "What's haste? I'm here to teach you. Say this Atayra. You're telling me to wait?" Reb Nachum said, "Come back tomorrow." And as he left, Reb Nachum ran to his Rebbe, the Maggid. The Maggid was margish what happened, and as Reb Nachum walked in, had the Maggid gesagt, "Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom." This is a shliach from the Samach Mem who's trying to bring you into its domain. He's shomer v'hizor. Do not hear from him. The following night, Reb Nachum was sitting in Beis HaMedrash. The fellow comes in again, and Reb Nachum says, "I don't want to hear from you." And despite all his pressures, Reb Nachum refused, as he was instructed by the Maggid. The Talmid HaMaggid was somewhat not so pleased with the story. Reb Nachum Pravet Ruach HaKodesh. As they found out about the story, Reb Nachum, what happened here? He was embarrassed, but he shared his own personal story. As a young child, he said, "I was orphaned from my mother, and my father remarried, and I grew up with a stiefmame, b'mloi muvan amila, a stepmother, was mir die gang in the Jordan. She made my life miserable. And I suffered many years, and one day I came home from Cheder, and I was very hungry. And my mother prepared a fine kuchen, something like a pancake. We were a number of children. I knew my mother. She would take this one pancake, cut it into small pieces, small slices, and everyone would get one slice, and that's what I did. I was so starving, hungry, and I grabbed a knife and I cut it into small pieces, and I only took a small piece until my mother walked in and said, "What happened to this Feinkuchen? Who took it?" And with great fear and trepidation, he walked in and says, "Mama, ich bin gewesen ausgehungert. I was starving, hungry, and all I took was that little piece that you would have anyways given me." And she looked at him with stern eyes and she said, "Allein nehmen, unfragen, a viel a gute Sache nimmt man nicht allein, farmen fragt." And he concluded, he says, "It went into my bones. It had a deep impression on me, and it was at that moment when I was very, very vulnerable to fall into that trap. I had that strength within me as medarf fragen." Reb Shmuel concluded the story to the Rebbe, and this is what the Rebbe responded. "I also heard this story from my father, with one correction and one addition. When the Tat hat mir erzählt der Meise, das gewesen, that when he came home, it wasn't a fine kuchen, es gewesen Säuremilch." You see the diuk in Chassidische Meise that the Rebbe was medaik. And then the Rebbe said, when the Tat hat mir erzählt der Meise, hat ausgeteitscht, "For was is Nachum gekommen, a sehr viel Zaris alle junge Jahren?" A young innocent child, why did he deserve to suffer the abuse of his stepmother? Why? But it was something that was a prerequisite. It was a preparation. One day he will illuminate the world in Me'er Einayim. He will be a leading light, and no doubt the opposing forces will stand in his way not to allow him to be that light that he has to be into the world. And the Rebishter was magdim refuah l'makis sometimes in ways beyond that we can understand. But he understood that every experience in life is part of the divine plan. The Rebishter hat so ausgestellt. that he should experience every detail in his life, was part of the general scheme of what his mission in this world is. Volumes of insight, depth in this Maisa. The Rebbe teaches us how to say Chassidische Maisa. It's a gewaltige schöne Maisa as it is, but let's apply it. Let's take it and have the application aside for the fact that we must know. As far men nimmt und far men tut, darf men fragen. And that oftentimes, all the time, saves our lives when the Rebbe tells us, Aseh l'chorav. And the expressions the Rebbe used. When he said this bakasha nafshis, the Rebbe used an unparalleled expression. I have yet to find a way to express this desire of mine that every chassid have an aseh l'charav and a mashpia, but for lack of any better words, I am using the words bakasha nafshis, but it is far more than a bakasha nafshis. Can we understand what it means, a bakasha nafshis of the Rebbe, that every chassid have aseh l'charav? Not to take a step, not to think even on our own, because we are so biased in the way we process that which we experience. Aseh l'chorav will save your life, the Rebbe says. It will give you direction. Nonsense. My Rav doesn't relate. If you care enough. We just heard from the Rosh Hashiva, your gaiti. If you care enough to fulfill the Rebbe's bakasha nafshis, you will find that mashpia. You will connect to him. We can't allow ourselves to walk around and say, I'm lost, I have no direction. After we've responded to the essential question, I have a Rav and a mashpia, maybe then we can begin to ask. And even then, the Rebbe's sichos are so clear, especially the sichos of the recent years, where the Rebbe tells us in Tafshin Yud that the Rebbe als bavarnt. When we learn the sichos of Nun Aleph and Nun Beis, and we see the Rebbe presents to us a world so clear, so pure, so beautiful, that we see Geula is in the making. And most importantly, when we say that all of this is true, but those of us who have suffered some type of life experience and abuse as a child, this is different. This is an exception. All this would be true to the perfect individual. But anybody who had any life experience, it's an exception to the rule. I need some avenue to allow me entry into the world of Chassidus, because I must rid myself from the trauma, the pain, the suffering inside. And in a simple Chassidish Maisa, the Rebbe tells us the experience you had or not by chance. As we heard before, there's no room for anger, resentment in our lives. Anger at something in the world is anger, chas v'shalom, rachman litzlan of the Meibishn. And the moment we entertain and allow ourselves to really connect to Achdus Havaya, we are free, we are redeemed. There's no resentment at all in our lives, not from today, not from the past. We see our entire life as one stretch of connection to the Meibishn and durchführen the Meibishn's kavanah. The achlatas that the Vad, who organized the Kinus, have asked that we all walk out with. And it's so self-understood, hearing from the Rabbanim and the Mashpiyim, we all know this is all an experience that was meant to happen. Appella de Kazach, the Alter Rebbe writes in the Sharblat of Tanya. He speaks about Tanya as derech harucha ktsara, but we also know there's ktsara v'arucha. Why is Ktsara V'Arucha called a derech if it doesn't lead you anywhere? Why is it a derech? We understand derech Harucha Ktsara is a derech, it's a long journey, but Ktsara, you enter into the city. But how can derech Ktsara V'Arucha be called a derech if it's a dead end? But perhaps what the Alter Rebbe is telling us in introduction in Tanya, and this must be the mood, this must be the call that we all walk out tonight united. There are those of us who in our path, in our journey of finding entry into the city, have taken roads that we thought would lead us. We thought this will bring us any closer. It will bring us happiness and salvation until we have to find that there is no other path. There is no entry. Those journeys helped us reach the path, gave us the courage to embark on the derech harucha ktsara. It is also part of the derech. All of us tonight, if we've experienced various paths that we have been through in the past, it was only that we all recognize now to see the Eid Kitev, the Yisr Eid Min HaChoshech. We see that when we now learn about Chassidus, we verbreng like Chassidim. We have a Chassidish Ahavas Yisrael. We see light years ahead, a total different world, as were all the paths that we might have been through. Let us not spend a minute. Let there not be an ounce or an inch in our brain to speak about the past. We have no time. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yiso is the call of Moshe Rabbeinu shebederenu. We are heading to Geula. Igi hazman, Geulaschem is real. We got to get with the program. We have to make Chassidus real in our lives. We have to care for each other with true, genuine Chassidish Ahavas Yisrael. Mit der Warmkeit, mit der Gefühl. This will illuminate our world. This will illuminate the world not only for ourselves, but will be a light to which the entire world is looking to follow. The Rebbe's Chassidim, the Deir HaShvi, ushering us in to the Geula Amitis Vashlema. We will be united. Umalkeinu b'reishenu, take it from Yad Mamish.
Amen.
Rabbi Yael wanted to conclude with a few words. We please ask everyone to give your respect to Rabbi Yael. Thank you.
Ik leef, en er is een verstandig klaar wat me redt. Maar af op Pekin, is daar allemaal, dat wist ik van jeden dag klaar, dan zijn kinderen tussen. Vroeger gered, Rabbi Shach had het gered, we staan met daar zoiets, het is smerig voor mij. Waarschijnlijk in Engels geweest. Maar elke pannen, klaar gaat, dat ik wist dat nog klaar. Vroeger had er man van 2 jaar schofes, van mensen gehad in Kitzepuk. Was de weg. Van een Belgische kook en van een terenkook. Bevraagd de Chassidische kook. Een Belgische kook is, was de enige joch, was bevrijd. Bedoel ik, de grootste mens, rachen de genoeg met hem, rachen de genoeg met jenem, wij doen wat je bent. Was je maar dat doen? Was je weinig? Weinig. Dat was gebeurd. En was weniger eil, dat is alles maar. Vragen, de man vrije. De man vrije, dat heb ik. Vragen, kijk hem al iets kloksig. Hij had een Kitzepuk, de eerste dag schreef, daar heb ik Kabbalah gezegd, de eerste dag. Nog een andere term, nog meer. Als je vraagt, dan gaat de kop vallen. Hij wil gar geen Kabbalah liggen. En dat is dat. Aber wie komt das da? Und das allein der mit Simcha. Da habe ich mal gedrückt. Nicht von dem, aber der wartet dort. Aber jeden, der mit Sergei der nicht. Bei einem Sergei das der Khilik. Bei Stama Menschen, was ist ein ich. Nur sagt Bekstem, Brachtem, Joch, das ist einfach. Das verquetscht. Bei ihnen was ist verkehrt. Und wer bringt das Arruise, das bringt das beklagt, Tere Jüdischkeit, das der Risat von Asifa Nishma, und nochmal das der Risat von Kafalem. Ich bemerke, wenn der Geschmack von ihnen, was mehr das Herz hat der Nefschele Kief. Was der Nefschele Kief? Kabbalah Sil noch Schmai. Und noch mehr, er sagt, der Mathe Bacharton und nicht mit der Nebach. Was ist der Nebach? Punkt verkehrt. Was und in der Mai mit der Korana mit Simcha, der Mann früher, Dort sagt der Rebbe, וזה פעלת מתקה בדיך, או תבדיל שמחה. אז עדיין, אפילו von dem Kofferle, der Rebbe, das halt die Skaschle zu Lanschin. Und die Skaschle zum Rebbe. Man dachte, das ist ganz klar geteilt, aber das ist das. Also die Menschen suchen. Und der zum Dachen suchen ist die gleiche Sache. Darf aber wissen, wo zu gehen, wo darf man das suchen, wo darf man das finden. Das heißt in Porsche Wörter. Wir haben nicht, was sie gehen in fremde Gärtner. Porsche ist klare Wörter. Das, was mir ihm sehr gegangen in fremde Gärtner, was ich aber, in Zeken und aber. Bald hat man so von Achlottet, man hat wel Porsche so von Achlottet. Von der Asifa und der Achlottet. Die erste Achlottet ist, der in den Augen gefragt Gamre. Das ist Porsche. Und Tag in fremde Gärtner. Wir haben einen Garten. Wir haben unser Garten. Und der Garten ist, was in einer Achlottet, man hat kein Scheichers in der fremde Gärtner. Der zweite Achlottet ist, hat alle. Was mehr lernen sie das, und was mehr dem Bremsen, dem Bremsiches und dem Bremsbrief. Und lernen das und wissen, dass es nicht kein Himmel sagt. Das ist ein ganzer Peil Mamisch. Der Rebbe sagt, Frank, zähnliche Brief, eben nicht kein Hunderter. Zähnliche Schlele, sein Chiv. In der Schlele, der zähnliche Brief. Jeden haben gefragt, wie bekommt man Schalbes an Nefesh? Entweder ein Weg. 4,5 Petere. 4,5 Petere. Das ist der Weg für Schalbes an Nefesh. Befreit Bachsidim. Und wir stolzieren damit. Es ist nicht der Vater, das Nabedens, der heiße Haare, klappt den Kopf rein, verdreht den Kopf. Und tut das auch nicht klein, weil es verkehrt, das ist eine Sache. Wir dürfen wissen, also das ist der Schwie, und jeder einer von uns ist der Größte, wir haben die größte Kirche, und der Rebbe hat gegeben, und geht ist die Kirche, und Tamar im Zerdaf, will es einmal ausreden, doch echt das ist. Hat wo zu ausreden, der Rebbe hört, als wie früher, und als jetzt kommt zu gehen, hat Problem, ausreden, und der Bett gebrochen, der Rebbe mit Spalferem ist und der Rebbe hat mit Nefesh, und bescheid, es wird ein Smaler sein gebrochen, und jetzt kommt zu gehen, nochmal mit ihr sein, hat der Rebbe nach Asruach. Wir haben nicht, was zu gehen, ich weiß wie. Willst du ausreden, hat du zu ausreden, hat euch gebrochen, du suchst das Derchen Leben, das ist das Derchen Leben, was man geben. Und was wir gehen starker in der Ruf, Nelche Berchesov, Netzach Salavoit, bis am Schleich, und später durch Abad an Abad. Jetzt wird der Machem, mit dir in alle Achlotes, der Rebbe gewollt Poshit machen klar, und wir können mal unter.
We also have the opportunity, after the conclusion of the formal Kinus, Rav Shochat will be here to answer individual questions. Anyone can approach Rav Shochat or the Mashpiyim. Tremendous Yashikeach to the Ma'arginim. Godless Chusam V'Ashrei Chelkam to bring about a Kinus, was no lehem, was is no Lashamayim, no La'elam, was is Zicher Azach, was is Gerim dem Rebbe, Ma'gevaldike Nachas Ruach. We all walk out from here with a tremendous new wave of Avas Yisrael, Achsidish Avas Yisrael, Ish Yisrael Yazeru Lachav Yemer Chazak. As mentioned earlier, we have now this little bit of time till Chavdalah Tevis. We can invest all our energies, and we must invest all our energies, in creating and establishing Shiurei Chassidus in every corner, nook and cranny, whether it's Block Shiurim, Shtibelach